What if what you have been calling faith is actually fear? Now, there's the story about the farmer who had a large farm field, and God had blessed him with many acres of land to be able to grow the crops that he needed to grow. And season after season, the farmer would look over this land and he was just waiting for something to grow. So the dirt was there, the sun was shining every day and just, providing this luminous light for these crops to grow. And the rain would come, and the farmer was wondering, and he began asking God, like, why isn't anything growing? And he was waiting on something to happen. But day after day, after week, after week, after month, nothing was happening. So finally, he, got down on his knees and he went and he asked God, like, God, I have this land, the sun's been shining, the water's been raining, but nothing has been happening. What's going on? And God spoke back to him. And he said, I've given you the land. I've given you the sunshine. I've given you the rain. But what did you do? I was waiting on the miracle of you participating with me and putting a seed in the ground, putting crops in the ground to get something to grow. And sometimes this process can be just that simple, where we're waiting on something to happen, but we are not participating in the process of getting something to grow or to make something grow. We're moving along and expecting God to do the work, and we aren't putting in anything. Having true faith is partnering with God. So not just having faith, but going into a partnership with him. Trust, action, and working together. And that requires movement. That requires us not just saying, okay, God, we prayed about this and this is what I'm expecting from you, without us doing anything in return to make those things happen. Absolute dependence on God without actions is actually laziness. So we could be thinking that we're doing things to progress and move ourselves forward. But if you're just praying every day, but you're not putting action behind what it is that you're wanting to do, you're saying, well, I said a prayer and it didn't come forth. It hasn't come into fruition. But you have been sitting back and just basically just hoping, just praying, but not really doing anything. You have been doing things without effort and avoiding responsibility. So just like that farmer where he was waiting on God to make every move. And sometimes God is like, well, I've provided so many things, but part of that miracle is you moving. So what are you putting into that to make it happen? Like, what seeds are you putting into the ground that God can put his sunshine on, that God can bring forth the rain to watch those things grow and to watch those things prosper? Absolute dependence on yourself without God is pride. So it's a fine line in between being confident and being prideful. And that's one of those things where the Bible tells us that pride comes before the fall. So if you have too much pride in what it is that you're doing, that you feel like you don't need to come to God, that you feel like you don't need to pray, or you don't need to include him in your plans, then you could find yourself in a place that's very devastating, where you're not actually able to accomplish anything that you set out to accomplish. Self-reliance without humility, being humble, being grateful for the things that we have. And not forgetting the source. So the source of your energy, the source of what allows you to wake up, to be, to exist every day is so important. And just recognizing that that source is God, that it comes through God, will allow you to be able to do so much more. So it's not just relying on your own self and saying that, like, I basically did everything and that's how things are happening. No, because you didn't give yourself life. You didn't give yourself that breath, and you most certainly didn't wake yourself up in the morning, even though it feels like we did, right? But without that God source, natural battery that's within us and the strength that comes from him, we wouldn't be able to do the things that we're able to do and accomplish from day to day. God gives us opportunities, but it's our responsibility to manage them. So are you actually managing the blessings and the opportunities that he gives you? Or are you just letting it go to waste? So are you like the farmer, just letting time go by and not putting those seeds in the ground and taking care of them and nourishing them? That is our responsibility, because he already do so much for us. So just that one little part that he requires us to do, those footsteps, one foot in front of the other, should not be a lot. It shouldn't be something that we look at as an overbearing responsibility. It's just part of us doing our part to contribute to what needs to be done. Responsibility attracts growth. So when you are a person that is responsible and you're showing that you could be responsible with the little that he gives you, then he's able to say, okay, I can put more onto your plate. But it's like if you're freaking out over the little portion that you have and you're like, I can't handle it, it's too much, it's too hot, and you're still expecting more and asking like, well, why don't I have more? Why don't I have more? Because he's looking at the way that you're handling the little portion that he's put on your plate already, to see that it's not something that you're able to handle. And he gives us what he knows that we're able to bear. So with responsibility comes more. If he sees that you're able to carry responsibility, the blessings that he's given you, then you're able to get more. He's able to reward you or fill your plate with more. Having more responsibility puts you in a place of growth, so you're able to grow and just take on new things, take on new responsibilities and new tasks. Your participation matters a lot. Miracles often require movement. It requires you moving and getting up and doing something and putting some action behind it. You can't just sit and expect to get and to gain all of the things that they're already gained when you're not doing anything. But if you're putting action and you're putting motion behind that, it's more likely to happen for you. Doors still require walking through. So you have to take those steps, like we were saying earlier, putting one step in front of the other and walking through the doorway and making the effort to do that. Know that God works with willing hands. So if you're willing to put in the effort, if you're willing to do the work, then it's something that can happen for you. But just expecting him to do everything, to do all things, is not realistic and is not reality. So you want to make sure that you're putting the effort in on your part. That's all I think I have to say. Just want to make sure. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. Until next time, peace, love, and blessings.